To videotape what I just did. Now I need a 700 thou spacer, which I don't think I made. Six something. There we go. I need one of these in a chrome. You got this in a chrome?
Yeah.
Right here. Oh, that's 654, not 700 though. That's going to be loose. There you go. Start all the way over. Actually, it's not too bad. It's a little loose. Yeah, I need 700. We need 700.
I gotta go. I'll catch you.
You got some fun?
I gotta get rolling.
Alright.
I'll see you this week, okay? Hey, I'm going to a big military meet. Are you looking for anything this weekend?
No.
Nothing? Holsters? Nothing? Scabbards? Nothing. All right.
No, I'm good. We got too much junk here, I was told by somebody.
I didn't say nothing.
That what you need?
I'll see you.
See you later.
Take care, pal.
Really looking at an empty video. Let's see, 700 thou spacer. I can't find what I need. I need a chrome plated one of these, but I don't have one. At least not that I found yet. Well, it fits in there just like it's made for it. There we go. Ooh. Well, there you go. We don't have enough space in there already. He just slid over another 50 thou on me. I thought he had it all in there tight. Nope. Okay, well now my spacer's too thin. It's up higher, we can see it. So, right now I just put my 700 thou one in there and it's pretty much too thin. So I got this one in here like that. I got the wheel kind of centered up a little bit. So you got your, come up your rim, you look at the gap up between the fender strut right here. And it's about a little over a ½ inch. You go over on this side here, do the same thing. And you can see you got about a ½ inch over here. So we're pretty centered. So I have to find the spacer that goes into here. And we got to check our sprocket alignment because right now the sprocket alignment looks like it's off. But it's close. But I think it's off. We did this before and it had to be offset over a little bit further, I think. So I'm thinking right now we're still off. Because I had to be a little bit closer on this side of the rim over here. Start on this side. And right now we're pretty well centered, I think. You get the center of the wheel to really tell where you're at. See, it's a full. Yeah, that's pretty well centered up, so that's going to be a problem. So that means I need to get a little bit thinner one over here, and a little bit thicker one over here. So I'm probably going to be able to take this one over here and stuff it on this side maybe. Alright, I'm going to dig through my spacer box over here and figure out what I need. I think I'm going to wind up using one of these 900 thick ones over here. Got a bunch of these ones that are 900. Alright, so I'm going to dig through these until I find the ones I need. And we'll be back, show you what I got. Just a little trial and error. Okay, I got the wheel up in here. So basically I got my different spacers laying out there I was coming up with. So I put my thin spacer over here. which turns out to be a 3/4 inch. And I come over here and I measure it with the caliper here, and I come up with roughly 900. So then I go find me a spacer that's close. This one's at 895, I think. So it's a nice plug fit. So it's right up against the edge there without any paint or anything on this. So I think it's going to chrome these. If he chromes it, it should be alright. If he's going to paint it or powder coat it, I'll have to make these spacers thinner. But for now, that's what they are. So then I take my straight edge here, lay it up in here, and you can see I got about a 1/2 inch clearance right there. You come over here and check this one, and you see I got about 5/8 of an inch right there, a little bit wider. Get a slight offset to the left. The reason I'm doing that is with this Baker transmission in here. It's got this 6-speed, 4-speed, 6-speed conversion thing in here. The chain line is in a little bit different place than what it should be. Now we got the motor all mocked up in here. The primary's up here, the churn is in, everything's bolted in and tightened up so we know exactly where everything's going to be. So then you got your sprockets buried way down deep and down in there. We got the starter motor we're going to use, so we know what everything is clearance-wise. So then you look down the transmission sprocket here, and you look all the way down to the black one that's way down in there. Way up in there. So what you do is, I just eyeball it. You look down this edge here to this edge, and you look forward, and you want to see the black sprocket basically in the same spot. So you just kind of do an eyeball thing like this. Right when the flat edge gets flat, you want to see the black sprocket. Pretty much disappeared about the same point. So right now we're really close, but I might be slightly further over than I need to be. Then you look on the inside sprocket and you do the same eyeball test. Yeah, it looks like I might be a 1/16 of an inch off. A little bit too far to the left, but I'm not sure just yet. Kind of eyeball it and see. Yeah, probably about a 1/16 off at most. So if I can move this back over about a 1/16, it'll probably be right about on the money. So that means this one has to be like a 780 to an 800, and this one here would have to drop down from 900 down to like an 830. But usually what I do is I run a piece of string down the sprockets and see exactly where they're at. So I know I'm really close right now, so I'm going to leave it at this point right now until we get everything bolted in where it's going to be. I have to adjust the wheel for offset like this because a little bit of movement right here obviously makes a big difference in the sprocket. So like I said, we eyeballed it, checked it a little bit earlier, and we were pretty close, but right now it looks like the wheel is making a left turn a little bit, which is probably why it looks like I'm offset. Eyeball check this too. So you find something straight to go along, and you eyeball your straight edge. I'm looking down the inside of that sprocket, right, or the starter motor flange. And that looks like I'm a little bit too far. Just going to find something to line up against that you trust. So now I look down the case and we're close. And you can also take a straight edge like this and just run it in here like that. You can see how that sprocket is way real close up in there. See, a piece of string or a laser works too, but I don't use lasers, I use string. But I use straight edges too. We're really close here, so I'm either right on the money or I'm a 30, or I need to move it this way about 30 or 50 thou. So I'll leave it this for now. It's about where we kind of semi-mocked it up before. Now the FXR brake bracket here, it came with this spacer here, which is obviously not even close to what we need here. See? You can see how it's still engages into the swing arm no problem. And it's got plenty of caliper clearance to clear our shocks, so it bolts in real nice and clean. Instead of having that stupid ass bracket that sticks straight up or straight down, it puts it right up front here, a real nice clean spot. So these FXR brackets work real nice. You can put a hole in here and put a one of those kickstand little rubber bumpers in there, or you can put the one that goes up against the primary cover on the old FLs. Little glue-on square one, you can stuff that in there. Just getting it in there keeps it from going up and down. That way it won't vibrate. Excuse me. Now the brake here, I can put a shim in here and change it, and shim it out a little bit. Or I can play around with the spacer inside the wheel here. There's a 3/4 spacer between the bearing and the plate here, which is the stock height for these old bikes. But I can put like an 1/800th thou one there and move this over about 1/16 of an inch or so if I need it. So there's all kinds of stuff you can play around with. Obviously, if you change around the spacer on the inside of the hub, it's going to affect the outer one a little bit. So just kind of play around with it until you find something that works. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and lay the brake caliper up on here and see how that lines up. So this is our brand new PM caliper here. He had an old style GMA one on there which looks like crap, so upgrade to something a little bit better looking and functions a hell of a lot better. Doesn't want to go, pads don't want to go in here over this rotor. Pistons are out right now. Alright, so I'm going to try the other brake rotor and see if I can wedge it out a little bit. See, it goes on top of this one here. So, see if I can get a little extra. There we go. It moved a bunch that time. Yeah, these don't really scratch up the pads or anything when you use a different rotor here. Okay, now I got the pads all the way in, so I can check it for alignment now. So you want to make sure the rotor is in between, right in the middle of this area right in here. So that's what we got checked now. See how close I am to what we need. That will determine what I'm going to do on the other spacers again. Well, everything is going to affect everything, so you have to just play with it a little bit and come up with something that works. Okay, right now we need to put a shim underneath the rotor and move the disc and move the disc out. One shim. So I can't move the brake rotor in any further because we're locked in. That's fixed. I cannot go in anymore. Like I said, we can't move this any further here, and this is obviously right against here, and you can see how we're hitting on the inside in there. So, see, it's hitting on the inside of the brake caliper and it's loose on this side. And these aren't even tight or anything either. So it'll probably get worse. Alright, so it gives me an idea about where this is going to wind up being. Now, I don't know, this is not the brake rotor we're going to use, but I'm not sure exactly what we're going to use. But anyway, you get a pretty good idea what it's going to look like on the bike. It fits really nice up in these, like I said, the FXR bracket is perfect for these old bikes. I don't know why they don't advertise the fact that they fit these, but oh well. So this here is not a PM bracket, it's just a Mid-USA caliper bracket for the calipers they sell. So these look a little bit better than we think on this old application than the PM caliper bracket. So we're going to go with this one. And like I said, that's your 4-piston caliper, looks pretty good up in there. So this needs to come out a little bit. Now the brake rotors, we don't know what we're going to use yet. Oh, this now if you want to move this over a little bit further, this is how you do it. You have to cut this side here to move this in further. This is one that was cut up. I think this was a PM one here. Don't remember. This is the one we used for his bike right here. So for rotors, we're not sure what we're going to do yet. So basically we got these EBCs here. Looks pretty damn nice. He's already changed his line of what he wants to run. So this is a 5-button rotor, they call it. So it goes in there. It opens up the wheel a lot, so you can see this here is hiding the chrome wheel back in here, so you can't see it. When you put this thing on there, it opens it up so you can see the whole wheel real nice. Looks pretty good. And he wanted to get something that was more closer to what the 13 spokes, where that thing is. They make a 10-spoke version of this. They call it 10 buttons. So basically, just put another one of the another stand right through here. So they just double up the stands. Now that really starts plugging up the rotor, so you can't see the wheel as much. So I don't like it for that fact, but he thinks it makes it more accurate to the multi-spoke wheel there. So whatever. So we'll let the customer decide what he wants to do on that. The other option was we have these mirror polish rotors here for the 10-inch brake system, which we're not using. We're using 11, unless he changes his idea again on the fork, which he keeps going back and forth on. These ones here are the mirror shine. So they're mirror finish. So they're flat. Unlike a regular polished rotor, they're dead flat. So if you put that on there, they're a lot smaller diameter, so you can see more of your wheel, but you can't see any of the inner wheel because it plugs up too much. So actually, the 5-button rotor shows you the most of the wheel. So it's the most open on the both inside and outside. So we'll have to decide what he wants. I can't mock those up because I'll scratch them. I can't return them. This one here, I don't care if I scratch it up. I use it on cheap bikes, so a couple little marks ain't gonna hurt us. Now over here we got a 43-2 sprocket instead of the stock 51, which I like quite a bit because it makes it look, it really opens up the wheel. You can really see the wheel up in here, which is a good thing. The other thing it does, it gets the chain line, it drops it way down. On these 4-speed bikes, the chain eats up the starter housing up under here, especially if you lower the bike. Now this one he didn't lower it. Fred's bike he actually lowered an inch, so it's about 1.5 inches lower of the bike because it moves the shock an inch up. And that brings the chain, it rubs up heavy up inside the starter housing up under here. Now if you put a smaller sprocket in the front and a real small one in the back, the whole chain line, instead of being right up against the housing right here, drops down to way down here, so it sits down close to the swing arm, kind of like I do on my race bike back here. Yep. More mock-up bolts. Allen's bike's in the way here. Ah, too much junk in the way. Clean the whole bike. So I got a 37-2 sprocket here for my gearing. I usually use a 40. But if you look at how close together the chain is, which you can't even see it, there's back in here, all this crap in the way. Now the muffler's kind of hiding it back where it is, but you can see how close the chain line is. So you get the chains right here and the chains right below it. So it's real close together. So you see how much clearance I got up here in the chain guard? And you get in the back of the bike, you get the same thing. You get a lot of clearance because the chain's real close together. So I like running my chains real close together, and instead of putting a big ass sprocket up here in the front that chews up everything and a big one back here, you can drop them both equally and get the same gear ratio. And it gives you a lighter chain, less drag on that, and it also gets it so it doesn't rub on anything. It's not going to fling up and hit inside the swing arm. So you see I run my chains nice and loose. That's how they're supposed to be. And I lubricate these with the chain wax from Maximo, so you don't get no buildup. You can see how much buildup I got into my sprocket or my chain guard. That's years of buildup. It doesn't really build up. So I lubricate these every time I go out. That's why it's clean and everything else is brown. So anyway, if you do the same thing on the bike over here, you get away from the eating up the inner primary on these 4-speed bikes, which is, like I said, it's a major problem. So the gear rig disc and starter helps a little bit, but you can see how this sits way below what the gear is, so it's going to eat that up. And when it eats up into there, it causes an oil leak. So you got plenty of room for width. It's just the diameter is a problem. Alright, so that's where we're at on that. So we'll have to wait and see what the customer wants to do on this stuff. I like the 5-button rotors the best, but he doesn't know. Now for the front end, we had an FX front end on it because it's an FX bike. So he picked up these FXRP 35mm dual disc forks here, which everybody drools over. See, it's got dual caliper mounts down there. So that's what everybody wants. They want this. Everybody wants this right leg right here. It's got the brake bracket on it. Anyway, if you go to this, you got 11.5-inch brakes instead of 10-inch. So he kind of wants to stay with 10-inch and not 11.5. We're going to use a stock early tree, 35mm tree. So we just slip in the late legs right there. Everything bolts in like it's supposed to. So the FXR tree has a totally different fork stop here, so you can't use it on the 4-speed bike. Completely different. So anyway, we want to use that. And the wheel over here is the one that I'm waiting to find out what's happening on the milling machine over here. This one I haven't been showing you me cutting on it, but anyway, this is the front wheel. Had the same chrome issue. You can see how I cut away the chrome right here on the edge, but not all the way. You can still see the original wheels way recessed in there. I cut the chrome off, but not the copper. So the problem is this register is 35 thou less than stock diameter, and the fancy brake rotors he wants to use is about the same amount over the stock register. So that means you double those two numbers up. We got about a 1/16 of an inch clearance or better. So when you put the rotor on here, it just rattles back and forth. So, and centering off of bolt holes and crappy ass bolts is not the way to center a brake rotor. It's stupid. So, so we got to decide what we're going to do on here. I want to cut this down to the 2000 later hub diameter, which is instead of 2 3/8, it's 2.2 inches or so, 2.220, I forget. Anyway, I cut this down to fit the rotor nice and snug, give it about a 5 thou clearance, so we're good to go. It'd be a nice register like it's supposed to be. Everything's good, but you got to be. We're going to run the bigger brakes and stuff on it then. So we got to see if that's what he wants to do. So customer is always right, right? This aftermarket rotor here is a non-polished one. And this one here is 25 thou smaller than the those fancy ass EBC button rotors over there. So every manufacturer has a different ID they use on these holes. So you can see how this cheap rotor and the stock hub fit fairly close. You get about 10 thou clearance in them, maybe between 10 and 20, which is more. That's about as much as I want to see, but that's normal. But when you start getting real big clearances, it's not very good. Because if this thing shifts over on you 10 thousandths, that much weight is going to make it wobble back and forth. It'll cause a little bit of imbalance in the wheel, so it's more more wheel weight you got to deal with. More wheel, weights on the wheels have to be more to compensate for all the steel being out. All right, well that's about where we're at on this bike. It's very time consuming getting all this stuff figured out because the customer keeps changing minds. We keep fixing parts that are bad, and so it's all part of putting together a custom bike. So, which really shouldn't be custom because it's all stock parts, but problem is it gets to be custom every time you do anything around here. So we're mixing and matching a bunch of different years and stuff, so it makes a difference. All right, well that's where we're at for now.